This is going to be pretty different than my average video where I'm thinking I could show you a thing or two about a hobby of mine, or more so a passion project that I would love to complete and turn into something more if luck finds my way. This project is actually related to anime, as me being a fan of it for so long has given me a lot of motivation to more or less want to actually dabble into seeing how and where this could go. To put it short and sweet, I am writing a light novel. And this video also kind of serves as a bit of a time capsule if in case I ever want to come back to it as a trip down memory lane, or if any of you guys want to revisit this video to see how far I've come and grown from this point in this field specifically. Because at this point, when I'm writing this around June 2025, I could still confidently say that I know absolutely nothing about the process of writing a light novel. Which is kind of crazy to say, since it'll almost have been 3 years since I had actually started this project. Now you're probably thinking, it's taking you 3 years to write a light novel and you still don't know anything about how to do it? And trust me, I get it. But the answer is yes. Why? Well, it's kind of on purpose. I intentionally avoided anything and everything on the internet on learning how to actually write the correct way to write a light novel. I don't even know if there is a correct way to write one. You know, say for grammar, punctuation, spelling, all that jazz. But basically, I mean the style of writing one. As a kid, I've read plenty of novels in school, and although not as often as I should have, read books at home too. My personal favorites are a few series of books from James Patterson. We got the Maximum Ride series, the Alex Cross series, and even that one book or two that was titled like Wizard and it had like no vowels or something in the title. Editor, you could find that book and display it. Those books actually played a pivotal part, I would argue, into being the first steps of my journey to become a person that wants to do anything and everything creative. Writing songs, being a VTuber, painting with a paintbrush. Most of everything creative I've ever done were from the stories that helped shape and define me in my childhood and beyond. I really do fully believe that. When I read stories like the ones from James Patterson, it's really easy to picture what's going on in the story in my mind. His stories are very easy to follow, great plot from what I remember, has the right amount of subtlety, and the best part of all, the majority of his chapters are like 4 pages or less, so you could speed through it all. But to the point of it being easy to picture, that's become something of a very underrated aspect in my creative process. If I can figuratively see what I'm reading, then it allows me to enjoy the plot, characters, and setting, or anything about it, no matter how it's written. If I can't, then the author of that story has failed step 1 for me personally. This also isn't a video to do any criticism of any one specific author or anything negative like that either. I just don't like being negative in the grand scheme of things in the first place. I do, however, recognize that if my stories want to be worthy of something or someone's threshold of wanting to read, then I have to hold myself to that standard. I've always been critical of myself, almost to a fault at times, whenever I'm looking back at old streams or how I sound when I record a song. The question of what can I do better, it's always in the back of my mind. I am unnecessarily putting pressure on myself since it's what's widely considered and assumed to carry the label of being a perfectionist. Ironically, because of this attitude towards this light novel I'm writing, when it comes to this video, I feel absolutely no pressure to myself. And as I was sitting here writing the script, wondering what the reason was, it hit me like a truck. I felt no burdensome expectations because this is not exactly a video. It's more so a diary entry that I decided to record and share with you guys. Now that I recognize that, this feeling of having nothing placed on your shoulders, especially when that feeling includes the fact that next to nobody could even find or even watch this video, is galaxies apart compared to the feeling of making sure everything goes right in this light novel. Because this is my first literary endeavor, the biggest thing on my mind is how can I make a good first impression? Which publisher would give me the best chance of being published, and which ones would give me the best deal? Do I even want to go the route of self-publishing? These questions are something I'll have to face in the near future, don't get me wrong, even when I have people in my ear saying, you don't need to think of them now. Well, to that I ask, why not get a head start then? It's good to have information to be prepared with so you can make an easy decision when the time comes. Now I want to talk about what inspired me to do this. Remember when I said that this light novel was actually related to anime? Well, I've been watching anime for a very long time, as you may as well know. I've consumed so much anime content across the internet, ranging from Super Eyepatch Wolf and his coverage of Shonen Jump magazine and stuff to Giguk, The Anime Man, The Masked Man, you name it, I've probably watched it. I've also binge-watched Pokemon and Naruto when I was a wee little lad, without even recognizing that those shows that appeared on Cartoon Network were even anime in the first place. Toonami only accelerated that journey faster with the likes of Bleach, Dragon Ball, Cowboy Bebop, and more niche ones like Paranoia Agent and IGPX. I've been getting exposed to many new interesting and unique stories across that time, and I've seen so many sides of the medium that it made me want to actually go on my computer to see what I haven't watched yet. And boy, let me tell you, I was not ready for that answer. I soon come to find out that there's tens of thousands of anime that have been made over the past several decades by many different studios. It was like I hit cloud 9. This whole database of titles that I've never seen before, filled with shows I've heard of in passing or through word of mouth, it was like a dream come true. So, what was the first show out of everything on that list that I decided to watch? I can't believe I'm gonna say this. Don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro-san. Now sure, that might be one of the choices of all time to start off with, but at least it was overall a good choice. And then after Nagatoro, I went on to watch shows of all genres, like Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, Aizokin, Death Note, Madoka Magica, just to name a few, and all through my own time whenever I had that free time. I just kept immersing myself over and over and over and over and over again, and I couldn't stop. All the good, all the bad, all the ugly, I loved watching it all. I'd wager that in probably about 15 to 18 months since the day I watched Nagatoro-san, I've probably watched at least a good 150 shows from front to back. That's, I think, like 2 whole shows a week of either 12, 24, or even more episodes for that respective series. When I watch these shows, I rate them on a 1 to 10 scale like how many other YouTubers do, or similarly, do a tier list ranking them within a season by letter grade. How I rate my shows kind of depends on how much I enjoy them, in addition to all the aspects a lot of people take into account in a more critical fashion, such as execution of the plot, chemistry between characters, and how fun they can be, the setting, quality of the art, and animation too. People always like to shit on Solo Leveling because there's not much plot and aura farming and whatnot, but truth be told, I rated Season 1 an 8.8 and Season 2 a 9.4 out of 10 because its anime really was that enjoyable. Whether it's just due to low expectations or just simply the fact that I can turn my brain off and just have fun with it, I loved it, and nobody can tell me otherwise why. And this is just one example out of many such shows I've enjoyed. But there's a rare kind of show that just absolutely blows me out of the water. The kind of show that when you finish it, your jaw will be on the floor and make you want to figuratively give it a standing ovation for, or literally if that's what you want to do. The kind of show that touches your soul and leaves you better for it. This is the kind of show that I would give a perfect rating of a 10 out of 10. And in my entire anime watching career, throughout the 1.5+ plus years I've embarked watching this medium, this has only happened 7 times. I'd like to play a little game with you. When I list off my list of perfect 10 out of 10 shows, I want you to see if you can find a pattern between all of them. Then, I want you to see if you can identify the one show that inspired me to write the light novel that I'm writing now. Are you ready? Here is my list. Toradora, Blue Period, Bocchi the Rock, Oshinoko, Season 1 of Spy X Family, Frieren, and Dandadan. I'll give you a few seconds to ponder your answer real quick.
Time's up. The answer is every single one of them fall under their own genre. No two shows on this list are in the same category of show, meaning that this list has what I believe to be the best that every single genre has to offer. Toradora with romance, Blue Period with drama, Bocchi the Rock with music, Oshinoko with mystery, Spy X Family with slice of life, Frieren with fantasy and adventure, and Dandadan with action. Now, for the second half of the game. Which of these 7 shows do you believe inspired me the most to write this light novel? Time starts now.
Time's up. If you picked Toradora, you'd be right on the money.
That's right. What I haven't told you yet is that I'm not just writing a light novel, I'm writing a romance light novel. When I watched Toradora for the first time, something clicked inside me. Something that I didn't know I could feel. It was a wave of inspiration that convinced me to not only want to start this YouTube channel, but also persuaded me to think to myself, I could actually write a light novel like this. If you didn't know before, Toradora was adapted off its light novel, which spanned 10 novels. And as a side little fun fact, even after a decade plus after the end of the show, the manga is still ongoing at the time of writing this, even though no new content has been added or will be added.
If you allow me to just gush over Toradora for a few seconds, I loved every single aspect of it. Its character-driven plot lines, its emotional beats, its soundtrack, all its OPs and EDs, and the character progression. Oh god, the character progression. Absolutely immaculate. If you saw my tsundere video, you'll understand why I love Taiga so much, and Minori and Ami have a lot of depth to them as well. Not to mention Ryuji's mother. Every time I think of her, I always think of the sacrifice she goes through day in and day out just to give Ryuji a better life that she couldn't have before. Really makes a man want to cry, not gonna lie. In light of that, however, what I also neglected to tell you is that Toradora was not the only anime to inspire me to write this light novel. In fact, it was one of 2 anime to do so. The other anime to do just that was Hory Mia. If I had to make my very, very, very basic 1-sentence analysis on Hory Mia, it would be this. Where Hory Mia shines, Toradora shines just a little brighter in my eyes. However, the biggest thing about Hory Mia that drew me to use it as inspiration and reference is its dialogue. Hory Mia was the first show I've ever seen that didn't have those tropes where a singular compliment would result in one of the characters blushing like crazy. They also didn't do a will they, won't they plotline. They just did it, and early on too. Literally, they did it. This dialogue and Bunny Girl Senpai's dialogue are the only shows I've seen that buck that trend, and they become shows instantly worth watching and worthy of recommendation too. So now I'm doing my part and recommending you to go watch them. They're really that good. In terms of the book itself, what I've written so far has been the culmination of mixing Toradora and Hory Mia into one whole story, and I'm taking what I believe to be the best factors of those shows and inserting them however I can into this story. Of course, I understand it's subjective, but whatever I choose, I want to make sure I do it justice. If this is going to be published, then my first impression should be the best impression, right? I want to have the confidence that I can show everybody that I am truly unique in my storytelling and writing. But even I know that's easier said than done. That's why I'm making sure to put as much care as need be until I know that this story will be perfect and something that I'm absolutely, truly satisfied with. So, what's this light novel going to be titled? Well, it's pretty funny when I think back to this question, because for almost the entirety of the 3 years, I was so dead set on titling it Arrival of Our Memories. Back then, it felt right when I just started binging all the anime that I could. To me, it had a certain amount of intrigue that I thought people would be drawn to if they ever saw it on a library shelf, picked it up, and thought to himself, huh, this looks kind of cool. I also thought that that title just sounded romantic enough too. But over time, as the story kept being written, I started to distance myself from that way of thinking, and it pretty much just made less and less sense to keep it as that title. But I've been thinking it over, and I finally came to a decision probably around last month that I'm gonna change the title. And I'll reveal it when I'm closer to the finish line. And that leads me to the next question. How close am I to finishing this light novel? Overall, right now, at the time of recording this, I'm currently in the last volume out of 3, about chapter 6 out of 10 or 11. Each volume up to now has had about 10 chapters, and this last one could also have 10 or 11, depending on how the ending plays out. But where I am is at the absolute climax of the story. And I'd be pretty disingenuous if I didn't preface by saying that this is the hardest part of the story to write, without a doubt. I low-key expected it to be as such with how much I've written it out in terms of all the small details I've laid out for it. But I didn't expect having to take multiple hiatuses for it and through it. It's pretty unfortunate since it was probably the worst time to go through burnout. Not to mention, I'm also currently juggling through uploading to this channel, my stream channel. There's the VODs channel as well, but that's just a place for me to drop off my stream VODs, so that doesn't really count. I also need to spend around 20 hours a week doing Uber Eats just so I can, survive and pay bills. And last but not least, I also, stream multiple hours a day for 4 days a week. So if I'm not doing videos in advance by probably like a good couple of months, I feel like I'm falling behind. But even if that's the case, it's not something I want to complain about because I actually love what I'm doing outside of writing this light novel. There's been so many times where I've embarked on a creative endeavor and I've gotten halfway through or even 90% of the way through before that last little part becomes the reason why I don't complete it. If you've watched the video up to now, I'm sure at some point you felt like this before. If I could share anything from my experience up to now, and if I could help anybody that's in a bit of a mental rut and is hoping for a reason to get out of it, I'd say that although the last few percent of the journey may be the hardest, it becomes a lot more manageable once you look back at everything you've done through your patience, determination, and endurance, that whatever you have left can be completed with just a full sprint. I'd say that the biggest thing that keeps me going is the fact that I know that once this light novel is completed, it will become my biggest personal and overall life achievement. In the humblest way I can describe, I've already been so proud of myself of making it this far, and I'll be even more proud when I complete it fully. If I had to explain my feelings right now, it's like I finally reached the top of a mountain and I'm just taking everything in. Yet, while I know I still need to descend it to finish the journey, I'm having no problem at the moment just taking my time. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I wanted to try a different style of video where I just say my true and honest thoughts about something personal to me and my life, and I just wanted to share this little diary entry with you guys. If you want to hear more stuff like this, give this video a like and subscribe. Comment some of your experiences like this down as well. I'd love to read some stories you guys have. If you also want to support my other channels as well, along with my Twitch channel, they'll be down in the description. I appreciate every single one of you that go out of your way to support a dream of mine that I've had for so long, and now that I'm so close to seeing it turn into reality, I'd love nothing more than to have your company joining me for the ride. That's gonna be it from me, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.